Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement presented by 3Chi and Barstool Sports and the first ever My Mom's Basement Moon Knight recap. You see that I'm dressed for the occasion. Clem, you're just Stephen Grant right now. I am Moon Knight though right here.
The people on the YouTube, they get to see it. They get to see my reaction as Bob. I showed up to the podcast, and Bob Fox. It's Bob Night. It's Bob Night right now.
Bob
It's
Knight. That's me. That's what
incredible.
you call me. I literally just watched Moon Knight. We are recording this probably 15 minutes after the episode ended for me. And I got to say, Clem, I was really, really delighted with what I saw. Obviously, I was looking forward to this a lot. I would say I was looking forward to Moon Knight more than any of the other Marvel Disney Plus shows this year. And what I saw in the first episode was exactly what I wanted to see as far as the mysteries go.
Yeah, I have to say the first of all, shout out Jose, who once again saved me a whole lot of confusion. For anyone that's listening or watching this podcast but haven't listened to Jose kind of give us everything you need to know about Moon Knight, it makes everything a lot easier. And hey, listen, if you want to get all the mystery unraveled each episode, that's fine. This would have been too much for me. It's just a lot of stuff to untangle at once. But I liked it.
Definitely, if anyone was confused by anything in this episode, go back and listen to that episode because, oh my God, it'll help you a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So all in all, the kind of like it's always the case was the first time you meet a hero, it's the origin story, but they don't go too granular. You're kind of getting some new stuff, here's some old stuff, and kind of like with Bob here, we get to see the costume at the end. So it's not like you go through an entire, because AJ hopped in the room about halfway through the episode, and I'm like, this could be a problem. This might be a violent show here. And he saw some violence at the end, but he goes, where's the superhero? Where's the superhero? And I like that we got to see the superhero by the end of the episode. We got to see him in his costume beating the snot, because there's a lot of stuff going on and just going crazy. By the way, what are you wrapped with? Is this
It's
toilet
toilet
paper?
paper. I got to take it off too because I figure the people listening to the podcast are like, what is this muffled fucking voice I'm hearing? I'm going to take it off.
Shout out Bob Fox. That is a commitment to the bit, not going with any paper towels or finding anything else, going with straight toilet paper from the bathroom. That's the Barstool difference. That's the basement difference. That's just commitment to the content game. Portnoy would be proud. Shout out Bob Fox
The
for
fact is,
throwing
good toilet paper too. I put to waste. So you know what? When I take a dump later on, I'm going to save this. I'll wipe my butt with it.
double ply. What do we go
Double
with?
ply, double
Gotta
ply.
go
It's that
double
real
ply.
soft stuff. When you come take a dump at Bob's house, you're wiping your ass with the softest in all the land.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because I agree. When I buy toilet paper, I'm buying it just as much for my guests as I'm buying it for myself. You don't want to have someone come in and they feel like they're, wiping it with their hand. Basically, it's such a thin,
Yeah,
crappy ply.
wax paper.
But I also have a stack of Scott's. I don't want to, name names here, but Scott's toilet paper from like early in the pandemic when there was nothing else out there. And we're like, all right, we just got to get something here. And then obviously some of the better stuff came out at some point, but that sits there and occasionally that makes its way onto the roll. And you're just like, oh man, this is a problem. We're going to the 2-ply stuff. So
Yeah,
shout
that's not great. I remember hunting for toilet paper with Trent for our apartment. Like that was a real thing in the city. We went to multiple stores and they were like, "Nope, sorry, we don't have one roll to give you." And then when you would finally find a roll, they'd be like, "Limit 2 per customer." So
Yep.
it'd be like, "Oh shit," and you'd have to get 2 and then go to another store. What a weird time that was. What a strange time. The times of toilet paper hunting.
We just lived through that shit. And it's funny too, because I remember seeing the pictures and the videos online. And I'm like, man, it sucks for those people like in those grocery stores. And then I went to my grocery store and I was like, holy shit, nothing's here too. And that's when I realized that the pandemic was real.
That was your
later.
like Stephen Grant, Mark Spector moment where you're like,
Yes.
"Oh my God, I'm living in this world now." So I took some notes during the episode before we like fully get into it. Now these will be spoilers, so from here on out, spoiler alert for Moon Knight. Spoilers. But some of the notes that I took while I was watching it. I was cringing at the opening sequence. Oh my God, when you see the glass into the shoes, right away I wrote, imagine doing that with Legos. You always talk
Oh,
about stepping on Legos, but
that's my life, Bob. I'm a
yeah,
dad.
yeah, exactly. Are the kids into Legos yet?
AJ's into Legos, but we have it luckily where they stay in a container. So there's really very rarely Legos on the ground. I'm stepping on bigger toys that can still hurt you, but they don't do the damage of a Lego. The infamous picture of that shark with his head in the air. It's like the meme, and it's like when you step on a Lego, most accurate meme of all time. I actually had my note was Die Hard vibes. My guy John McClane did that through a fucking entire floor of a building as he was fighting terrorists and still came up. And the way it starts too, and who is it?
Ethan Hawke.
No. Bob Dylan, the music.
Oh, yeah.
And he's drinking water, and you're like, all right, like this is delightful. Smashes the glass with like that little dragon cane looking thing, and then puts on the shoes. And I go, if you want to give me goosebumps and fear whoever this person is, mission accomplished. That's how you do it right there. Because you fucking with glass and you're doing it in your shoes. It felt like what's the name? Da Vinci Code, when the dude's whipping his back.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's some religious shit here.
That's what some people were suggesting. I saw, what's the word? It could be a religious penance. I'm not a religious guy, so I didn't realize that's the word. But like for some sort of sin. And if that's the case, what did he, consider the biggest sin out there?
Bob says he's not a religious guy as he has toilet paper hanging around his neck. What a moment we just had on the YouTube.
I'm keeping it. I like it. It's a good look. It's like Alberto Del Rio, who's actually a bad guy. I don't like him. But when he was in the WWE, he wore like a white scarf around his neck like that. I kind of dig it for this episode. You get a sense of his personality right away, right off the bat. The first conversation we hear where he's on the phone with his mom, he's leaving her a voicemail. I was like, holy shit. Oscar Isaac's kind of a fucking nerd in this show, ain't he? Like in everything I've seen him in, well, not maybe everything, but most of the things I've seen him in, he's a very confident guy. Think about Dune. He's the fucking king. Think about Star Wars. He's the brash pilot who, goes into battle even when he's not supposed to because he's so confident. Think about Ex Machina. He's this brilliant, crazy scientist. And this is kind of a fucking nerd, at least when he is the British. I guess it's Stephen Grant is the one that we start with, which is much different than the Stephen Grant Jose told us about in the comics. In the comics, I believe Stephen is one of his personalities, but not the main person he was born as, that being Mark. Stephen was sort of the Bruce Wayne billionaire, playboy, businessman. In this, he's just a museum worker. He's kind of a lowly museum worker, which I also dig because if you want to differentiate Moon Knight from Batman, because a lot of people try to make those comparisons, take away the Bruce Wayne personality.
Yeah, and I wrote these all down for everyone. Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, Jake Lockley. Those are the three guys I think we'll be bouncing between. And I noticed, as I think later on in the episode, he's already wearing down. You can see he's getting tired and he's turning into a Barstool blogger right before our eyes in one episode. So like Moon Knight years are equal to our years, are equal to president years. It ages you very fast. And I actually found it kind of like delightful too. I was talking to his mom, talking to his goldfish that he was talking about, chained to his bed. Way too casual how he was just chained to his bed. I thought he was going to wake him and be like,
with the sand around it too, which is like, oh my God, I get what he's going for. He wants to figure out if he's waking up or whatever, but like sand, man, you want to step into sand first thing in the morning? Talk about making your morning horrible right away.
What are your thoughts on sand, Bob?
I don't like sand. It's coarse, it's rough, it's irritating, and it gets everywhere, Clem. It gets everywhere.
Everywhere. Especially in bed, you're rolling around. That's the last place in the world.
God.
You bring a nice young lady home and she's like, dude, why the fuck do you have sand in your bed right now? That's a problem.
She gets sand in the crevices.
I like sand in the car, though. Like, if you have beach sand and it's in the car, like, it kind of gives me the feeling of summer for a little while longer.
That. Yeah,
and then, like, the winter, I'll clean it up.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I liked the OG Jay-Z Big Pimpin' sample we got halfway through this episode. That was really cool. We saw Ethan Hawke killing someone with his grip just based on the judgment of his tattoo. I wrote, all right, there's the first metal moment of the series.
Oh, we've got metal.
I mean, when he just squeezes that old lady's hands, he's like, sorry, it'd be nice if you could live to see this world, but you can't. Squeezes her dead. Oh my God, that was crazy. And then one of the biggest oh shit moments of the entire episode, the first flash, when he wakes up having won that bloody fight, he wakes up with the, what did they call it? The scarab in his hand, where it's like just everyone on the floor around him and his hands are fucking soaked in blood. I was like, holy fuck. And then this one I wrote down, I know you don't love car chasers and the James Bond-esque stuff.
Yep.
You had to like this one, right? Because I thought this was a phenomenal chase scene. So much fun.
Yeah. Well, you also have to add in, and I wrote that, I did like it. I'm not a James Bond guy. You put on "Wake Me Up Before You Go." It's impossible not to be happy as you listen to that song, and then you think of the Zoolander gas fight scene, and you're just smiling the entire time. And he says, a different version of him, Steven or whoever the fuck it is. I
I
guys,
know it's tough.
the names are
It's
going to
gonna be
be
tough for at
impossible
least
for
like
me.
the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll be okay.
Exactly. He says, I don't have a driver's license. One of them says
One
that.
of
and
them
then
doesn't have it and the other does. Yeah.
the other
And
is
one
like
of them,
the greatest driver ever.
another great detail, like one of them is a vegan and one isn't. Like he asked the girl to the date at the steakhouse,
The
even
best
though he's
steak.
a vegan and he doesn't remember it. And then he winds up missing the date anyway. Like, oh my, I like all of this shit. It kind of reminds me of, I think I might have told you recently about that show Severance with Adam Scott. Did I tell you about
No.
that? I think I might have been talking to Devlin about it. I saw Lights Camera Barstool interviewed Adam Scott, one of my favorite actors from Parks and Rec. So I watched the interview, and he was promoting a new show directed by Ben Stiller that he's the star of called Severance on Apple TV. And the concept of the show is your work allows you to get a microchip where when you're at work, all you remember is work. You don't have any clue what you're doing in your outside life. But when you're in your outside life, you don't have any clue what you're doing while you're at work. So it's that you live a split personality essentially. And it reminded me of that in some ways. And I only watched 2 episodes of the show Severance. I would recommend it to people. It's very good, kind of Black Mirror-esque, where you're like, why is the company doing what they're doing in this weird futuristic world? So check out Severance, Apple TV Plus.
I'll tell you, I think a lot of the Barstool employees would probably take that microchip because my life has blended into Barstool years ago, right? And that's the thing, like you always feel like you're on, you always are in content mode or whatever. And even when you're not, and your significant other, your family's like, stop on your phone. It's like, but I am Robbie, I am Clem, you know what I mean? I'm Robbie Fox. It is crazy. And like you said, during that chase scene, Logs just fucking crushing people.
So good.
That, and in Fortnite now, like you could chop down trees, and if they're big trees, they can just crush people. So I got a Fortnite like vibes in that, which was cool too.
I just saw Fortnite has the no build mode now, which makes me very interested in Fortnite all of a sudden.
Yeah, there's nothing worse. Like when I used to play Fortnite a lot, and you just have some 12-year-old just build an entire thing. You can't shoot them if you wanted to. So no. I want to get that. Unfortunately, my TV down here, there's no power button on it, and AJ hid the remote on me about 2 weeks ago, so I can't play Fortnite. Isn't that just the saddest shit you've ever heard in your life? That is the truth, the God's honest truth. I just went on Amazon today to look for a new remote because I have to buy it. I've given up. He did this with my Google remote upstairs for our Chromecast, and he's done it again. 2 remotes we're just gonna have to buy replacements for. So he's like my little Moon Knight. He's making my life so much. He's my Conchu. My little Conchu is AJ.
Yeah. So I know he went to a Taekwondo birthday party. Did he come back kicking it and throwing punches at you, or was he kind of tame after that?
He's tame now. However, they sucked us in like they do with all those birthday parties, and we are now going to give him a lesson. And if we like it, we go 8 episodes. We go 8 episodes, 8 weeks, and then we can build on it and whatever. So I'm a little scared that we're weaponizing this kid's fists, but hopefully it's for good, not bad.
Until he could kick your ass, Clem. How many years? When he's 8
months. Change it to months. I don't think you have to change it to years.
All right, let's kind of go through the episode a little more beat for beat, not as beat for beat as we usually do. I said we're gonna kind of have a more free flowing conversation because especially a show like this where it's jumping around and getting all crazy might be a little confusing to try to go like literally line for line. The episode starts from the perspective of Stephen Grant, mostly Stephen Grant. Mark Spector comes into play a little bit later on. I think Jake Lockley is going to come into play a little more than he is. There's a lot of reflections with 3 versions of him, which might be hinting at that. There's a lot of alligators as well. The cane is an alligator. We see an alligator in the museum. There's alligators in the comics.
Later gator. I think he says later alligator.
He does say later gator. So like, is alligator Loki actually Kang?
Oh, I thought we were gonna get a Mephisto reference. We're going to Kang. I dig it.
I don't know. Is he behind all of this? Is it Alligator Loki, the show, and they're giving us the hints in plain sight? Who knows? We loved Alligator Loki, right? So Mark is the main person I believe he was born as, who we don't really see in this episode. Like, I don't think he was, unless they're changing it from the comics. I believe he was born as Mark, and Stephen Grant is just the weak one. That's why Khonshu's calling him like the weak one, because he's weaker than Mark usually is.
Yep.
He's also chased by a jackal at the end of the show. I wanted to point that out. We thought it was Werewolf by Night, or it could have been Werewolf by Night. It's a jackal, and that could all relate to the comic book run that Jose told us about, where he's in the mental asylum and doesn't really know what's real, what's a dream, what's not. Apparently there's moments in that where the workers come and they're in scrubs and everything, but they have the head of a jackal and the body of a jackal. So it's like, ooh, is that part of the same thing there. I don't know. And going through it, we see Ethan Hawke with the shoes, the religious pennants. Gross. We get an awesome Marvel intro with A Man Without Love by Engelbert Humperdinck, which is
Great,
an
all-time great
unreal
name.
word, which is the most ridiculous thing. But I had to write that down because the song, it's one of those like not quite Dear Mr. Fantasy level, but
Yes.
you hear it and you're just like, all right, yeah, well, this is a good vibe to kick off this series. Steven thinks he has a sleeping disorder. Obviously, later on, we come to realize he's getting up in the middle of the night, but he does everything you would do to an eighth grader on a field trip. He puts the tape on the doors and he's locked down. It's crazy. He even makes a mention at one point where he's like, I can't bring a girl home with chains on my door. It's psychotic. Red flag
Mom,
city.
I had the same note. 8th grade, our trip to Washington, D.C., and have the tape on the door. Good
Yeah.
work, man. Great work.
No,
Bravo.
that's what they do. Make sure you don't leave. And kids, of course, try to get out of it. You can't though. It's foolproof. I don't know how he gets out of it. We're gonna have to figure that. Maybe Conchu's taping the fucking door after he comes back in. I don't know. That's very strange. Also, at one point during this episode, when we mentioned he missed the date, he missed like 2 full days. He thought it was Friday and it was actually Sunday. So he must have missed Friday entirely and Saturday, essentially. I could see at some point during the series them going back to those 2 days and showing us like some crazy shit went down in
That's
those
a
2
good
days.
point.
Even if it's like, what is this, 6 episode series? Something like that. I think it's 6.
Yep.
It could even be like the 5th episode, the penultimate episode, when they're like really blue balling you to get you to the finale.
And we'll completely forgot by that point about those 2 days.
Exactly.
And I'm like, oh shit, that's right. It's those 2 days. And you know, my radar is up with all these goddamn shows, especially when there's a lot of mystery going around. And I see that little fish, and his name is Gus, which rhymes with sus right off the bat.
Yep,
and
true.
we talked about the one fin a whole lot, and I had all the notes written down about it. And again, goldfish have bad memories, all that kind of stuff. Little
That had
Nemo
to be part of
reference,
it, right?
and stuff,
Kind of a
and
Ted Lasso.
yeah, exactly. And the poster where you have a goldfish in a blender looking thing, and I was like, this show is, I'm not ready to watch a goldfish get absolutely mutilated. I'm very happy we did not get to that point, though.
But the goldfish comes back with 2 fins at some point.
Yes.
And he goes to the fish store to be like, the fin grew back. She's like, what are you talking about? You were in here yesterday. Like, the fin grew back. No, they're all with 2 fins. So we don't know if it's 1 goldfish, 2 goldfish, 3 goldfish. Oh,
Redfish,
look at
bluefish,
me.
Dr. Seuss over
wow,
here.
I am Dr. Seuss. That was actually my mom's favorite book to read to me when I was little. Look at that.
Look
Isn't
at
that adorable?
Nothing wrong. Well, actually, I was going to say nothing wrong with Dr. Seuss. If you listen to the twisted history of authors, children's authors by large, there's a lot of things wrong with Dr.
Yeah, I
Seuss.
think there was. He was kind of abusive, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think his wife committed suicide. He was fooling around with a neighbor. I know there was a lot of problematic shit. I think people
sounds
are
like he was fucking Thomas Wayne. What the fuck?
It's tough, man. It's a tough one for this. And like, I love all those guys: Dr. Seuss, Roald Dahl, Shel Silverstein, and Large basically pokes a hole in everything I love.
What about Goosebumps guy? R.L. Stein? Is that Goosebumps person?
Let's be honest, Bob. If you're a horror book guy, you probably have more than, maybe you might have literal skeletons in your closet. If you're
true, yeah, he definitely has literal prop skeletons in his closet.
Actually,
or her. Is it a he or a her? R.L. Stein.
That's a good question. I think
it's like a J.K. Rowling. I don't know.
It's he is a guy. He kind of looks kind of like you would imagine a guy named R.L. Stein to look like, as I look him up here. The one guy that I will say,
is he bald? Picture a bald guy.
No, balding, definitely balding, and still alive, 78 years young. Shout out to our guy R.L. Stein here.
They're making movies now, I think, with Jack Black in them. Like, I think they made 1 or 2 movies. Goosebumps.
Oh, good for him, man, getting that Hollywood money. The one author that I refuse to acknowledge ever had any bad things written about him was Eric Carley. That was the guy. He wrote The Hungry Caterpillar, Brown Bear, What Do You See? Those were staples in the Casa de Clem growing up.
And you don't like him?
I love him. No, I love him. He passed away last year, and I wrote basically an obituary to him on Barstool because I love him so much. So The Hungry Caterpillar is a big time favorite of the Casa de Clem, down to the current generation of kids here.
Speaking of people passing away, this is sad and kind of a tangent off Moon Knight, but one of my favorite musicians of all time passed away this last week. Just wanted to shout him out. Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters. Died at 50. Super shocking. Probably like the saddest I've ever been over a celebrity death. Just stunned me when I read that. He was one of those guys that like you never even think about that for, and which is, people are going to say, if you didn't know him, like I didn't know him, but know of him, people are going to say, why could you say that? Because he overdosed like 20 years ago and survived that. So people, I guess, were saying, oh, you should have seen this coming. he was one of those guys that was so happy, so bright all the time. You never even thought about someone like that dying. You thought him and Dave Grohl were going to be playing until they were 90, like Willie Nelson. So just shout out Taylor Hawkins. If you haven't heard
Yeah.
Cold Day in the Sun, if you haven't heard Sunday Rain, if you haven't heard his Queen covers, go check those out. Type in Taylor Hawkins on YouTube. Watch some live videos. One of my favorite drummers ever. Dude was an absolute legend.
Yeah, I'm not a big music guy like you, but like you said, the Foo Fighters, Foo Fighters.
He's in that video. He's in all those
legendary
videos
band.
with
Yeah,
Dave. You know, he's always next to
exactly.
Dave. Go watch those interviews if you want to laugh. Like he was one of the funniest dudes, always telling stories with Dave Grohl. So like, you know, it's sad, but also go celebrate Taylor Hawkins' life. Keep his name out there. Keep playing tributes to him. I said on Twitter, Taylor Hawkins would always put like a ridiculous picture on the kick drum of his kit, like a ridiculous picture of Freddie Mercury or John Travolta, or like some of the Bee Gees were on there. Like, I think all drummers should put a funny picture of Taylor Hawkins or a picture of Taylor Hawkins
Oh,
smiling, looking bright on their kits for at least like a year. It's almost like in baseball, like wearing a black stripe. Like all drummers should pay tribute to him. That would be a nice thing in my mind.
I dig that. That's a good call. And like you said, the basement, people didn't think we'd be talking about Brown Bear Brammer, what you see, and the Foo Fighters
Right
drummer,
into the
but
Foo Fighters drummer overdose and right into Moon Knight again. We'll get back into Moon Knight now
I
for all
love
the
it. No,
nerds that
that's
tuned
what
in.
the basement's all about, man. We keep it cool, we keep
Yeah,
it
you get
casual.
everything. Get a little bit of everything.
I feel like, and I don't know much about music again, but I feel like Dave Grohl was the drummer on Nirvana, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like to become the drummer for Dave Grohl's band, this guy had to be pretty fucking good. Like
He was unbelievable.
you
And
have
he
to
was
pass
so
the
humble
test.
about it. Every interview, he would be like, "Oh, the greatest drummer in the world is my singer." Like, yeah, it's a tough job. Like, I think he said when he first met Axl Rose, that was the first thing Axl Rose said to him. He's like, "What's it like being the greatest drummer in the world's drummer?" And he's like, "It's fucking hard. Nice to meet you, Axl Rose." And he was always so humble saying Dave Grohl's the best. But like everyone that really knew, I feel like, knew Taylor surpassed Dave like a pretty long time ago in that
Really?
department. Like Dave, of course, came up with some of the most iconic drum fills, drum grooves of all time. Smells Like Teen Spirit's intro, but Taylor could play everything Dave could play and more. He was just crazy and he could sing at the same time, you know, like Dave could do the same thing, but like Taylor had a great voice. There's a video I tweeted of Dave's voice going hoarse during a show and Taylor finishing Times Like These for him. And it's just like such a cool video. There's not a lot of bands where the drummer can do that. His favorite band, Queen, the drummer could do that. And that's like, if you listen to some Queen and then you listen to some Foo Fighters, you go, oh, that's where Taylor got everything from Roger Taylor. So that was his idol. So hopefully he's up there in a band with Freddie Mercury right now. That's nice to think about.
Oh, and I love Queen. The wife and I went to see a Queen cover band this summer. Had an absolute blast, and that's like we talk about concerts you'd love to see. Concert you'd love to see of that isn't possible because someone's passed. Queen is top 3, maybe top 1 from Biggie's up there, obviously, and then Queen.
I'd recommend
is
seeing
1,
Queen with Adam Lambert though. I saw
Yeah,
Queen
I
with
haven't
Adam
done that.
Lambert.
I
They
should
were
do that.
incredible.
I should
It's
do
worth
that.
seeing, just seeing Brian May playing those solos. Roger Taylor's still up there. He's got Rufus Taylor, his son, also drumming. They do like a drum battle mid-show, father versus son. It's good stuff. It's like a tribute to Freddie, essentially. I think for Love of My Life, they have like Freddie, quote unquote, sing it. And it's just a recording of him a cappella singing while Brian May plays the acoustic guitar. It's good stuff. I mean, if you're
That's
a Queen
awesome.
fan, how could you not love that?
And like you said, Bob, anytime the drummer is that good, that's kind of like whenever I feel like, man, I suck at blogging, I suck at content. I'm like, Dave Portnoy hired me. If Dave Portnoy hired me, I'm doing something right. I'm sure Taylor did the same thing when he was alive as well. So
yeah. So getting back into Moon Knight, he asks that girl out on the date, but forgets about it, and then misses the date. Calls her on the night of, and she's like, "Asshole, it's fucking Sunday. What's wrong with you?" He goes and talks through his problems with a street performer, one of those guys that just is like a statue, which if you grew up around the New York area, probably not only New York, I'm sure London, like they're in here, which he says London when he's in the other area. And he's like, I don't know why I said it like that. It cracked me up when he said that. I'm sure
those
you've
mime
seen
guys are
these
so
people
impressive.
before. They're so impressive. And some of them have those special like canes where it looks like they're sitting on something or leaning on something. And you're like, how are you even standing right now? But I thought that was a funny thing. He kind of just talks to him for a while, reminds people that take a picture like, oh, you got to tip him. And then he tips him and leaves. It's like his therapist.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. At first, I thought it was a statue he was talking to, and I'm like,
Same.
"Oh, is that like a Benjamin Franklin statue?" I couldn't really tell. And the mimes, at least the ones that I used to see in Times Square, they'd have like a whistle go in their mouth, and then they'd like scare you or whatever. So the fact he didn't do that is why I was thrown off. A lot of cheers being thrown around. I'm thinking I might become a cheers guy, Bob. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like that's usually what happens whenever my friends would go abroad. Or like some random person would go abroad, they'd start saying cheers in their emails or whatever. I might become a cheers guy, or at least a bollocks guy. We got a couple bollockses in this
Yeah,
episode,
that's good.
So I mean, I don't want to, steal, my culture is not your, plaything or something like that. We have, we're growing in England right now.
Appropriation, yeah.
Barstool is getting out
I
there
know.
in
I
England.
wanted to come back with an accent like Madonna, but I just couldn't pull it off.
And that's the thing, is like, as a Chelsea fan, these are problematic times for us as well, with the whole war in Ukraine and our owner. I don't even know if he's even considered our owner. So I'm kind of just gonna, maybe I'll just
Is he
keep
Russian?
the English thing. He's Russian. He's an
Oh.
oligarch. To be fair,
Ooh.
I thought an oligarch this whole time was someone that was related to the royal family way back when Russia had royalty. I didn't realize the entire structure. I've learned this through Chief and through the dog walk, exactly what oligarchs are. Not so great, it turns out. Roman Abramovich might be, he kind of got rich off of, all the words of Putin, who is not invited to the basement.
Nope.
Vladimir Putin
Door's
not
locked.
invited to the basement. Door's locked.
We put the lock in the hinge or whatever you call that. Yeah, no, Putin's not allowed down here.
You know who else is not allowed in the basement, Bob?
Ooh.
Gift shop clerks. And I like our guy. I don't know.
What?
I like our guy, Steve. All right, Stevie, I don't know what to call him. I'll tell you, when you're a kid, there's nothing better than a gift shop. And you leave through the gift shop. It's the most brilliant marketing scheme of all time ever created. When you're a father, and you're just like, God damn it, now I have to fight these kids through the gift shop. Everything they just watched or saw or, walked through in the museum, they now have to go through the gift shop. They're going to want to buy an $85 stuffed animal I could get on Amazon for $12, or they're going to want some goddamn candy, trying to sell them sugar at the register, the jellies I think they were trying to sell.
Yeah.
That is the last thing in the world. I don't want to get my kid hopped up on sugar for the entire ride home. That's when I was hoping they were going to fall
Funny
asleep.
when he said, like, they didn't sell these in ancient Egypt. Like, why are you selling jellies?
I
I love a gift shop too, and that was like a big thing when you were a kid. I think about that sometimes, actually, and I'm sure you think about it all the time as a parent. But like, how do they do it? How do they actually make kids want all of the random shit that's in a gift shop? It's crazy, because I was one of those kids. I definitely wanted that shit. You go to Disney on Ice or something, you want like a stick that glows up at the end or something, and you're like, you think back, you're like, why did I want that?
It's like, and those things, the markup is like the record on those things, like $25 for that, and it will be dead within a week. Guaranteed, 100%. It will be dead. I went to an Avengers thing, which, I mean, obviously we're talking Marvel here. For all the parents out there, hey, you know what? If you're young, you just want to have fun, maybe get some 3 in you, go have some fun. There's like live action Marvel shows, which I'm sure they're back now. I'm sure they're, during the pandemic, everything went down, but I imagine they're coming back and probably a little cheaper than usual. If maybe get tickets to them, maybe get a nice.
It'd be so much fun if one comes to our area and we did like a basement meetup at one, and we had all the listeners react like it was fucking WWE, like Captain America hits a move and we're all yeah. Thanos comes out, boo, and then you in the heel section is like you're cheering for the heel,
Marvel Universe Live. That's the name of it. I'm looking at it here. They have Wolverine, Spider-Man. No dates right now.
Oh, Wolverine's in it. So they're mixing universes and shit here.
Yeah, all over the place. Game Time tickets. You got some tickets on Game Time, maybe?
Game Time. What a transition, Clem. Let's tell the people about Game Time, a new sponsor. They've never been on My Mom's Basement before, but I am delighted to have them. Game Time is a new app created by fans for fans. Sounds familiar. That's been changing the way we buy tickets and has become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Here's the story. Years ago, Game Time's founder Brad is at a bar with his brother before Game 7 of the NLCS, and he sees ticket prices dropping. So he buys them on his phone, but realizes then he has to print them, which is a dilemma that I've been in myself for concerts, all that. Sometimes you got to go to a physical location on other sites. It's not good. He ends up bribing the owner of the bar to let him into his office, and after 20 minutes of logging in, ink issues, he gets the tickets but misses the first inning. He thought, wow, what a great last-minute deal, but giant pain in the ass, obviously, to get the actual tickets. And then the app was born. Today, over 15 million people have downloaded the app. The Game Time app is essentially designed for these moments, last-minute deals, which I, as a regular concert goer, use all the time. Our office is right across the street from Madison Square Garden. Actually, in 2018, I saw the Foo Fighters on the Concrete and Gold tour and did this exact thing. I had always planned to go to the show, but didn't buy tickets until about an hour before the opener came on stage. And you get the cheapest tickets because people get desperate. They're like, I'm not going to
Yep.
get these tickets off my hands. I'm not going to the show. Might as well drop the prices. So Game Time is designed to help you out with that. I will definitely be using Game Time in the next year and the next coming years. And the best part is you'll get $20 off your first purchase if you download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem the code MMB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Do you think Smitty's upset about them using the term Game Time?
Oh, that's gonna hurt him. That's gonna, when I heard about the ad too, I was like, oh wow, we're promoting one of our own. That's cool. No,
No.
Smitty has been cucked yet again.
Smitty ain't giving us $20 off tickets to any event you could imagine.
Another drummer that, except he didn't stay with the band. He was kind of the 1.0 of the entire thing. That's hurt. Sorry,
insult to injury.
I know Smitty's probably a basement boy. I'm sorry, Smitty.
I assume everyone at Barstool listens to this podcast. I don't think there's a soul at Barstool that doesn't.
And I'm looking here at the Marvel Universe Live, which again is there's nothing scheduled yet. I'm being honest. I had the time of my life. You know what I ended up buying the kids? There was so much like things there that I was like, these are kind of junk. I bought them. It was like a popcorn tin. So we got the popcorn, and it was like a giant like container you could use. And I was like, boom, 2 birds, 1 stone, collectible, and we can eat popcorn. It works perfectly. These guys, they do gymnastics. It's like Spider-Man is like flipping around. You have these guys riding dirt bikes. It's a great show. I'm promoting the fucking Marvel Universe Live here. No free ads.
Look at this. Speaking of popcorn tins, this is the tin that I ate popcorn out of during Avengers Endgame. Figured you got to keep that, It's the actual Endgame
Big
popcorn
Daddy Thanos.
tin.
Yep.
Yeah, so now it's just I put random, UFC gloves, stickers. Actually, look at this. VIP royalty from Medieval Times. The My Mom's Basement Podfathers duo trip. Speaking of great time, it's basically that, I assume. The Marvel show is like a Marvel Medieval Times.
Exactly. And that's actually probably the perfect way to put it. It's awesome. So I love it. I'll give him a little bit of a break here as the gift shop guy, but being the gift shop person or the person selling your fucking, baseball bats at the game for like $30, just trying to make an honest living.
Those
nothing wrong
bats,
with that. It's just
I like those little bats.
You like the little bats?
Yeah, those are good. I used to have some little bats.
Also, Donna in the museum.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's on the sus list or the C word list, but I do not care for her one
Somewhere
bit.
in the middle, yeah.
She's a little bit of both, if you know what I mean. But and so there's also one thing about there's 2 missing gods, and she's like, I fired them because they were late.
Khonshu.
Alarm
gotta be one of them, right? Yeah. Khonshu and who? Mephisto?
I was gonna say, what was it? A mint, a praise, a mint.
Yeah,
that's
maybe,
what they say at the end. So, but I don't know if that even makes sense. There's a lot of shit to digest in this goddamn show still.
A lot. Now we get the kind of full introduction for Ethan Hawke because he wakes up and sees Ethan Hawke in the streets of where were they again? Were they like in the Alps, they said, or something?
That's kind of where I figured they were.
They were like in another area of Europe, clearly, not in London. And he's walking down the street and everyone's just touching him. It's weird. Almost Game of Thrones, like when they're doing the shame walk, but it's not shame. It's worship. It's everyone's like, oh my God. He walks in front of all these people and he does the tattoo test that we kind of spoke about earlier, the kind of metal tattoo test. He's got one of those balance things, the Law and Order balance, whatever. And if it goes green, you're good. If it goes red, he's going to squeeze you till you die. And that's tough. Mark Spector kind of notices him. He notices Mark Spector. He calls him a mercenary. People were saying in the comics he is a mercenary. So that's like maybe a connection to their past in some way. And he snatches the scarab from him and then can't give it up. And the acting in this scene was phenomenal by Oscar Isaac, because I was like, it really looks like he's almost like magnetically being pulled left to right, up and down. And he's like, I'm trying to give it to you. I swear, mate, come on. And they start dragging him away. And this is when he just kind of like his eyes go up, his eyes go out. And then he wakes up and his fists are bloody and everyone around him is on the ground knocked out. And it's clear that he just won this fight. It's like, oh, fuck. So now we get the chase sequence that we talked about earlier as well, where you go back and forth, where he doesn't have a license on one of the guys. Then he wakes up and, when he wakes up and he had the gun in his hand, and he turns around and the body is just sitting there and falls out. Pretty fucking violent for the MCU. A lot of blood. I also read this week that they took like the blood out of 2 scenes in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That's strange.
I didn't like that. Like, come on,
don't like
Marvel.
that
Like,
at
just
all.
steer into it. It's a new time we're living in. Everyone's a little older. We can
That's like they
handle it.
went back and deleted a tweet that was a little too mean to somebody or something. They're like, let me
Exactly.
just remove one of these.
I was happy that like we got to see like when the scales tipped against the old woman, it wasn't like someone just shot her. I like that he kind of like sucked her soul out or whatever.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that we have a little bit of like villainry and like superpowers, if you may. I also was thinking someone's gonna get that tattoo. Maybe Bob Fox will get that tattoo. If Moon Knight makes enough of
No.
an impression on you
I can't.
as a show, you
I
could
ain't
get
a
that.
villain. That would throw off the
That's
balance
true.
of the force.
That's a fair point. Mark Hamill's not grabbing that arm again if there's
No.
a villain on it.
Ethan Hawke grabbing my arm. That'd be a weird picture.
I loved when they said the idiot's back, and I was thinking like kind of like you said before, where it's like you're trying to separate this person from that person. It's like the Barstool blogger. That's the idiot version of me. The dumbest possible version of me is that, and that's what like they would say like, "Oh, the idiot's back. We got to get like regular Clem back, the family man, or just the guy walking outside." Nope, the idiot's back, and he's murdering motherfuckers. The Scarab, that reminds me of Aladdin. I was getting Aladdin vibes,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
remember the Aladdin video game, which was actually like randomly awesome back in the day.
First Sega?
Yeah, it was for
My
Sega
brother
and
said
Super
that was
Nintendo.
so hard. That was
was
one of the
so
few games
hard.
my brother told me about growing up where he's like, oh, that's impossible. You can never try that.
It's like the Lion King, the Elephant Graveyard. Like, do not go near Aladdin. And then for the old folks like myself, Ninja Turtles for regular Nintendo. There was a Hudson River board, the hardest board in the history of games in my life. I've never
Wow.
I'm getting like chills just thinking about it. But yeah, just seeing all that shit go down with him just being the crap out of everyone. And yeah, like you said, he's like getting pulled this way, pulled that way, and then just like murk motherfuckers.
Yeah. And I
loved
love the
it.
log thing. He like made the log truck crash, which I think it was brought up. You sent me it was heavy spoilers or
Yeah,
was it
heavy
heavy
spoiler.
spoilers? They brought up Final Destination, and that was the first thing I thought of too. When you see that log truck, I don't even know if I've ever seen that full movie or if I've just caught like a half an hour here and there on TV. It's one of those I feel like they were always on a random channel. That log scene is like, if you've seen it once, you'll never forget it.
Yep, that's it. I don't think I've only seen the commercial of Final Destination, and the only parts of Final Destination I can tell you about is the log thing. And every single time you drive on the road, you think of that. And you're just like, all right, we're going to the other lane. Exactly.
Which, speaking of lanes, cars, I thought my car got stolen. I walked to my car on Friday, where I usually park at Jersey City. It's not there.
Are you on 3 Cheat Bob? Is this 3 Cheat Bob talking?
No, this isn't 3 Chi. This is sober Bob. I was about to drive, I thought, and it's not there. And I'm like, what the fuck? My car was not stolen. Well, it was stolen. It was stolen by the police. They towed it due to an expired registration. Now, my dilemma is we found out I don't use my car very often living in Jersey City. We Uber sometimes to the city, sometimes we'll drive, but I went on the London trip. So my car had been there for like half a month. And the fees are up to like already they're up to like $1,100.
$1,100
already, yeah.
Oh,
for the daily storage fees and shit. And the issue is the registration was expired in my brother's name. It was my car originally, then I gave it to my brother, then my brother gave it back to me. But now he lives halfway across the fucking country. So he's got to get like letters notarized, giving me power of attorney, sent back to me. I went to the DMV, went to the towing place. Both times it was like I didn't have the right paperwork, so I got to get it from my brother. I am in hell right now. I wish my car was stolen. It would have been much easier to get back, I think, if it was stolen. I need to get like the Batmobile shit from the Keaton movies where it just like shields around if the cops try to get it next time.
And it just drives on its own back to your place. And you're like,
exactly.
All right,
it's my fault. I get it. The registration's been expired forever. Whatever. It's on me. Just been hell going to the DMV back and forth. Oh my God.
I saw that tweet too. And then there was also the same like day, there was a tweet where someone had said something similar, but it was a joke. Like a lot of people were making a meme of a tweet. So I was like, oh, Bob's car didn't get stolen. Cause I was going to say, make sure it didn't get towed. Cause when I was visiting wifey back when we were dating in Queens back in the day, I parked somewhere. I parked on a road. I think probably about 4 hours later after I parked, they had put up flyers everywhere saying, do not park on the street. It's being used for a shooting of some show, movie, something, or maybe it was getting cleaned or something. They towed all the cars on that street. And it was like 2 full days that I was at our apartment, come back, car's gone. I'm thinking it got stolen. I'm like a fucking country mouse in the city. And I'm like, oh, got stolen. Nope, just got towed. I didn't have it. I was gone for 2 days, not 2 months like our guy Bob here.
Bro,
So
and I'm going to WrestleMania tomorrow, or if you're listening to this, I'm already in Dallas. And then next week I'm going to LA for another video shoot. The week after that, I think I'm going to Columbus, and the week after that, I might be going back to Arlington. And then I think the week after that, I'm going to Vegas. So this is going to be very interesting. We're gonna see if I get this car back or if the fees go up to like $10,000, and I'm like, I might as well buy a new car.
Bob versus the Jersey PD is the rivalry I never knew.
No,
existed.
don't say that. I'm with them. I'm with them. Give me my car back. I'll do whatever you tell me to.
I was gonna say, or you can have Frank the Tank complain on your behalf. It might work. I mean, he's complaining against Jersey Transit, the New Jersey Devils.
To one of my tweets yesterday where I said like, it got towed. He said, I hear it's 6 to 8 weeks for a DMV appointment in Jersey, which it's not. If you go far enough, you could go. I went down to like Hazlitt, New Jersey, which is pretty far away, but also, interestingly enough, my favorite podcast, hosted by two of the former comic book men on AMC and Q from the Impractical Jokers. It's called Tell 'em Steve Dave. It's like the podcast I've been listening to for 10 years. All of Kevin Smith's friends that used to run the Secret Stash store, they now run their podcast out of the same Airport Plaza mall that the DMV was in. So after I went to the DMV and got super disappointed, I was like, all right, I'll go check out like where my favorite podcast is recorded, bought a t-shirt and stuff. So the day wasn't a total bust. It was kind of fun.
W.
I wonder if there's there might be basement listeners that listen to Tell 'em Steve Dave. If there are, tweet me.
Yeah, hit us up for sure. I wonder, I was going to say maybe Frank the Tank could give you like, I got a guy, he, worked as a court clerk forever, but I guess that's not the case. He just had to tell you that New Jersey sucks.
Sorry, we're going on a tangent away from Moon Knight, but this has just been hell that I've been living in. So I had to get it out there, I just got to vent to the listeners.
Well, this is the thing too. Like this show, my brain's been scatterbrained all over the place. Like the time is off, the fish is off. My brain is just,
you don't know what's a dream, what's real, which is kind of what Jose promised us and kind of what I wanted going into it. I wanted to be confused, and I'm glad I got the screeners for episodes 1 through 4. I saw so many people watch them. I saw Jeff and Kenjack watch them. I don't disparage them for watching them in any way. To do Lights, Camera, Barstool, probably it's right for them to watch. It's probably like smart for them to watch early. I love that I didn't. I love that I have no idea what's going to happen until next week. And this is stretched out into a month of mystery for me and thinking about this show. Like, I'm so glad I didn't watch all 4. So going further in the episode, he wakes up after the whole car chase to a bunch of missed calls from a woman named Layla, picks up the phone. She calls him Mark. He's like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you calling me that? He starts seeing Khonshu. Khonshu looks scary. He looks crazy. Basically like he does in the comic books, if you've seen him there, where it's like an Egyptian god in white and gold robes, and he's got a big staff, and then his head is just this skeleton of a bird, and it's kind of floating above his head. Sees him in a few different areas. He winds up seeing Ethan Hawke like on a bus. He's like, they're following me. He's following me. Runs into the museum, the art gallery, and he sees a security guard. He's like, get this guy, he's following me. Security guard shows him, oh no, I got the fucking same tattoo as him. And it's like, oh, you're in on this too. Everyone's in on it, kind of Fight Club style. Like, we're all on this. Watch your back everywhere you go. Ethan Hawke reads him, puts the little alligator cane between his hands, and he says, you have chaos in you. Escapes, lights go out, jackal chase, runs into a bathroom, and then we get the scene, pretty much the first scene we ever saw from Moon Knight, I think, is him turning around and walking towards the camera. But he beats the fuck out of that jackal in that the bathroom. And then he just walks into the camera, episode over. Pretty badass, especially how he was talking to himself in the mirror. I think it was Mark being like, Steven, let me take over. Chill out. Like, I'm going to take over. This is real. Let us get through this. Like, very cool dynamic, great ending to the episode. Like you said, the right move to show us the superhero in the first episode.
It made it. It would not have felt complete. It would have been like, man, we went through all this and we don't get to see what happened, and it was a lot to take in. But I thought it was pretty goddamn cool at the end. We got to see it. And heavy spoilers, like you said, they had made a note that there's a lot of mirrors in this episode. If you go back and rewatch it, not just mirrors, but reflections. So in windows, in puddles and stuff like that.
A lot of puddles, yep.
And then obviously when Oscar Isaacs is talking, that's where everything's broken, the fourth wall or whatever you want to call it. So I thought that was real cool. Did you get any kind of vibes when the jackal was running around? Because there was 2 pop culture things that I got like real deal
When the
Fox.
jackal was running around. No, not really.
Gozer. I had Gozer, or the
Oh,
dogs
yeah, yeah,
Gozer,
yeah.
and then a little bit of Stranger Things, like one of the
The
like
Demogorgons?
dogs, the little dogs that
Or the
were
Demodogs? Yeah, whatever
yeah.
they, yeah.
The
I could
old
see both of
lady.
those. I was gonna say the when you said that, the first thing that came to mind was like Nightcrawler in X2. He's in the White House, kind of flashing in and out on the
Yep.
ceiling, on the walls.
That's fair. That's fair. The old lady, I'm not going to put her on the sus list. I thought she was sus in the commercial, but
That was great. The scene in the commercial did pay off. Yeah.
she was fucking terrified, man. She was fucking so scared. I was scared for her by that point. And I was gonna I was gonna say I was gonna get upset about him not realizing that it was Sunday instead of Friday, but I don't even know what date it is anymore. Like
Me neither.
I was like,
I'm
the
not
other day,
looking at my thing right now. March 28th, 29th.
March 30th, Bob. Like
There we go.
we've all become Dave Portnoy in the last
There
2
we
years.
go.
I'm convinced. Like the dates are not real anymore. I found out at a dentist appointment like 10 minutes before I had it when I just happened to see an
I
old
got one
text message.
tomorrow.
Oh no, no bueno.
I think it might be a dental surgery too. I got a whole infection. I'm not even gonna go into it. The
our guy Bob,
enough of my problems.
Our guy Bob is catching L's.
I'm on a skid right now. Yeah.
Hashtag pray for Bob. Oh, that's the other thing I want to say. So we had the whole steak thing. He's a vegan. It was, I thought that was very cool. There's all these different sides of him. What is your go-to steak order? I'm not going to say how much you want it cooked because I know that's going to piss people off. Does Bob Fox have a go-to steak order when he goes out to the steakhouse?
Like kind of steak, like a New York strip filet mignon is my favorite.
I go filet as well. And I say, you know what? If I'm going out to a nice place, I'm going to get the expensive shit. I'm going to get the good shit, the shit that I am scared of screwing up the entire time I'm cooking it. So I'm going to have someone professional cook it for me. So I'm the same as you, Bob.
I go filet medium rare.
I go filet medium only because I don't want them to go rare. I always go a level up, even at the good places. I know it's going to piss people off. I saw people get upset about steaks. I almost didn't even say it, but I like it. I'll occasionally butterfly it too. So you ever where they can cut it in half and you kind of the double doozy, you really get a little extra instead of the thick steak. I like it like that.
I like that too. I also like a New York strip. I know some people shit on that, like the thinner steak. People are like, it's a steak you don't want. I like that.
Yeah,
I don't know why people don't.
It's good food.
London broil.
A little London broil for Bob Fox.
Yeah, like a London broil. Not only since I went to London, as he said it. No, since way before then. I've been early on the London broil. I discovered London broil.
I am London broil. And this is the last thing I'm gonna say from the episode in terms of like the different references. If you name your daughter Layla, her entire life, she's gonna have to hear the song. Just gonna put it out there.
Yeah,
I think it's a lovely name.
Yeah,
they lived in the Clapton camp. That's a good point. So just think about that for all the people.
There was racist stuff he said at an old concert that they dug up recently. Eric Clapton needs to stop making it hard to be an Eric Clapton fan. Chill out, Eric Clapton.
Great guitarist, though. Great guitarist.
Hell of a discography. Yeah.
Yes.
If you just remove him from the music, which you got to do with some people, like some people bring up the bad stuff about John Lennon. You got to remove him. Remove the person from the artist, the music. It's all good.
Kind of like our guy Moon Knight. It's like there's one guy that murders motherfuckers, and then you're going to
things that rappers have done.
Yes,
it's rough. You remove them, their music's still great.
Exactly.
That was Moon Knight, though. That was the first episode recap, as well as my DMV recap and a tribute to Taylor Hawkins in the middle of it. It kind of went all over the place like Moon Knight.
Maybe that's going to be the new style. They'll be like, man, I just got into my mom's basement. You guys are all over the place. Like, no, that was just the Moon Knight season of my mom's basement where we talked about random shit.
It's a new era. It's a new era, baby. It's also 100 days as we're recording this. When this comes out, it'll be 98 days till Thor: Love and Thunder comes out, and we've got no trailer.
They were doing reshoots, which had me a little, I don't know if the word's concerned, but I'm like, maybe
I don't get concerned about that as much
anymore. Not trust hashtag trust the Feige. We've been through that a million times. I'm really excited for that, and it's just that's going to be kind of the Guardians part of it too. And as a Guardians fan,
true,
I'm really excited for them, and I don't really know what to I have no, like, it doesn't feel like that's even close to coming out. Where after Multiverse of Madness is done, that's where the hype train is. It's going right to Thor.
I think maybe they're going to do the Spider-Man thing again, where the post-credit scene is going to be the first trailer.
I wouldn't.
Did they wait that long?
What is it? May? Do we know what day is Multiverse?
20 something.
Yeah, so that would be a wild move, though. That would be a wild move.
They did it with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, and that was Sony and Marvel.
Yeah, that's across. So May
You know,
6th.
this is, I feel like, more likely at least. May 6th it is?
Yeah, it's really not that far away. So I
Maybe they
guess
will.
that makes more sense than them just releasing a trailer like a couple of months away, right?
I'm so excited for that too. Our guy Korg is coming back.
So what are you more excited for, Thor or Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange. I gotta give love to our boy Waldron.
Yeah,
Doctor Strange.
I like if I knew the Guardians were gonna like, I feel like the Guardians would be in the beginning and then they're gonna go their own way. But
They should use that song. You can go your own way as soon as they fucking
yes.
leave. That'd be perfect for them.
I feel like there's a potential Portman curse we could be dealing with here with Thor as well. Imagine if Thor just like goes back in the shitter.
No, I think Portman redemption story. This is
okay. Portman redemption.
I love Natalie Portman. Padme, come on, one of my first crushes. Got to support her.
This is the thing. I love Natalie Portman too. Now that you bring that up, though, Natalie Portman has been in Star Wars and the MCU.
Yep.
And everything she's been in was basically the worst version of the MCU in Star Wars. I'm kind of concerned about the Portman curse.
Don't say that. SW prequel Stan, aka SW prequel Fran, is listening.
I know, yeah, I know. That's one of like out of all my favorite fun facts at Barstool, Fran was Natalie or Princess Amandella like 6 years in a row for Halloween. Just an incredible.
And the face paint, the headdress,
head to toe, fucking full blown, heavy duty, like Hollywood level.
Oh, will we get her an Obi-Wan?
Ooh,
flashback?
Yeah, that would be
She's with the Disney family doing this stuff. You know, you put her in front of a green screen, they could do anything like that now.
Do you want Portman
on that set? Yeah.
I heard this guy on a podcast the other day say that there's a Portman curse going on right now.
It's like, what fucking podcast you listen to? You cheating on me with nerd podcasts?
I'm trying to inception you guys into believing in this Portman curse. Hashtag Portman curse. If you guys made it to the end of this crazy fucked up episode, we need to have Topher Grace come in and segment this podcast to make sense here. They're going to have all the DMV stories in this part, the Marvel Universe live show in this part, and all the Natalie Portman stuff. And then the rest, Moon Knight, we're going to put it together. But yeah, what would you say right now? Based on what you thought about Moon Knight before the first episode, how do you feel going into the second episode? You seem to like it. Now, how do you feel about like the whole I love
where it's going. I feel very whelmed in that. Like, I watched the first episode and I wasn't like blown away. I wasn't like, that's the best MCU show I've ever seen. But I was like very, very intrigued, and it left me wanting more, which I wanted, you know, like WandaVision did, like Loki did. When the credits rolled, I was like, oh fuck, where's he going? I want to see more now. Like, I'm very, very happy with the pilot that we got and very excited for this show.
I'm jealous. Like, the people who watched 4 at once or a couple at once, it's just, there's a lot to be putting together, and there's a week's time in between. There's a lot of shit that's gonna be broken down. And I know if I go on Reddit, especially after more shit gets revealed, we're going to go down into this rabbit hole. There's going to be X-Men, Mephisto. You're going to be meeting all our old friends
Blade, here. I think he's in the comics with him. I know people are going to probably bring him up as a potential finale cameo, and then it'll be Ralph Boner again or something.
And this is the thing, like, it's like they almost need to have it like with Michael Scott when he marks the girl's hand, you know, to know which one's his girlfriend. Yeah. Like, I don't know which guy I'm looking at. I know that's all part of the show. I don't know if I'm looking at Mark, Stevie. One of them called him Scotty. So then I'm like, wait, is his name Scotty?
As he was leaving the museum, Scotty. I was like, is Scotty a new personality? And also, we haven't met Mr. Knight, who is allegedly one of the coolest personalities. He's the one who wears like a kind of Moon Knight mask, but it's not as rappy. It's kind of just smooth, and then he wears a white suit, which is pretty fucking badass. And he's rumored to be more like James Bond, which is another reason I get them changing the Mark Spector, or I guess it's the Stephen Grant, from the playboy billionaire to like the lowly museum worker, kind of a nerd. I like that because the James Bond personality would sort of take some of the traits of that Bruce Wayne, right? Like Bruce Wayne with a gun is James Bond.
Yeah, and I think they probably don't want to have him be like the MCU's Batman. And by having an eccentric billionaire, you're basically doing exactly that. Plus, we already had Tony Stark play that. You know, Robert Downey Jr. played that role better than anyone else could. Let's just completely disconnect. You know, and I'd like to apologize to anyone out there that might currently be or formerly have worked at gift shops. I love gift shops. Okay. It's just, as a parent, it's fucking tough, man. It's a tough thing. Your kids are already pissing you off, and then they're asking for the $8 piece of candy. It's really tough. So shout out to all the gift shop people out there.
Any apology to Portman before we get out of here?
I might write a whole fucking blog on this, actually. I'm going the opposite. I'm steering into it. I'm sorry.
No,
And I'm sorry
you're
to
gonna make
you.
Portman
I'm
an enemy of the pod.
Prequel Stan, who is prequel Fran. I like Fran sees that she's gonna fucking rebuke me for coming at her girl, but I'm telling you, I don't like.
Can someone make the scene from Revenge of the Sith where Clem is on Anakin and he's like hurting Portman, and then I'm Obi-Wan, like I step out, I'm at the top of the thing.
He's like, Clem, you're breaking my heart, and it's like I'm looking to see if she's in any other like great franchises here that she like kind of just she didn't submarine them herself. I'm not saying her characters are bad, but it's almost like a fucking curse. I don't know what else to say. It's curse of the Portman.
If you've made it this far, you know, hashtag Portman curse. As much as I hate to say it, it's a good hashtag. It flows. It's good. Thank you for listening to the first ever Moon Knight recap. We'll be back next week, obviously, on Friday with another Moon Knight recap. And we already said we're going to try to get Jose Youngs on for one of the recaps. Instead of just having him on for the previews, we'll get to see where he thinks it's going mid-show.
And hopefully Bob will have a car by then.
Hopefully I have a car by then. And also, you know who I'd like to get back on the show is Brendan Clancy. He'd be great for the show.
Got to get Brendan Clancy on. When the shit gets deep into the weeds, we need our guy BC on here for sure.
All right. Hashtag Portman curse. I will see you guys at WrestleMania if you're at WrestleMania in Dallas this weekend. And follow along on the YouTube channel for a bunch of interviews. I should be able to get some interviews or even some shorts of reactions and stuff, funny stuff from WrestleMania weekend. So follow along there. We're approaching 20,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Hell yeah. Bob's vlogging too, baby. We're vlogging.
Vlogging now. All right. See you guys next week.